What's going on, guys? Chad from Caldwell Painting here. Got another great video for you guys. We're talking about the 8 biggest paint myths out there. Guys, we're making a lot of great videos for you, so make sure you like these videos, make sure you subscribe for more. Let's get into it, guys. So number 1, biggest myth, paint is paint. And guys, that is simply not true. If you've seen any of our other videos, you understand that all paints aren't created equal. A lot of people think, hey, if I go to Lowe's or Home Depot, get some Behr Marquee, it's 70-something a gallon, it's gonna be great. Well, guys, their job is to sell paint. They're gonna market at a price that they think they can sell it at, but that doesn't mean it's all created equal. Go watch some of our other videos on paint quality, and you'll really start to understand what makes those paints different. Even in between latex and oil and different types of oil, there's so much to it, guys. So paint is not just paint. And guys, that leads me to primers. Myth number 2, any primer will work. And again, that's simply not true. There are specific primers for specific uses. So there's shellac primers that are great for covering up, like if you've had a fire in the house and you need to cover up that smoke smell and the burnt. Shellac primers are great for that. You've got oil-based primers that are great for hiding. You've got your latex-based primers for walls. There's a million different primers, just like there's a million different types of paints for different applications. Myth number 3, paint and primer in one. My can says paint and primer in one, so I'm good. Guys, that's simply not the case. Think about it like this. If your husband, boyfriend, or whatever, they have that bottle in the shower, that's the 20-in-1 shampoo, shower gel, face wash, toothpaste, everything in one. Well, you understand that that's not going to be as good as having a shampoo, a face wash, a body wash, having all those separate things that are designed to do what they're designed to do. So the paint and primer in one sounds great, but really is just a marketing thing to get you to buy that particular product. Myth number 4, paint my walls, paint my trim, standard white. I've heard that so many times. Yeah, we're just gonna paint it standard white. Well, guys, there is not a standard white. I could pull a fan deck out of just whites that has a ton of different colors in it, and they all look very similar. I'll give you that, but there is no standard white. The only time there is a standard white is with ceiling. So there is a white called ceiling white that is standard. But other than that, when you're picking walls and trim color, guys, there's not a standard white. I know that makes it a little more confusing, a little more difficult to get your colors, but look at those whites, do some research, and figure out what's gonna be best for your home. Next myth, you can't paint during the winter. Now this one, guys, this one's a yes and a no. So this is where it's really important to understand your product. So whatever contractor you're using, make sure they understand their products, because each paint can paint down to a certain temperature and can paint up to a certain temperature. So some paints go down to 35 and go up to 105 are the limits you can paint in. So if you're in an area, if you're way up north and your winters are just terrible, probably not painting during the winter outside. But if you're somewhere like Memphis where, we could have an 80-degree day in the middle of December, we can definitely get some painting done during the winter. It's all about keeping track of the weather, looking at what's gonna happen, look at the nightly lows too, because you still have to make sure it's gonna cure overnight. So having a contractor that takes the time to look at those things, schedule for those things, and make sure they're not painting in the wrong windows. But interiors can definitely be done in the winter. Exteriors, depending on where you're at, depending on what the weather is, could be painted during the winter as well. Another myth, any paint brand can match any other color of paint brand into their paint. Now, for your standard ones, for your Behr, your Sherwin-Williams, your Benjamin Moore, 99% of the time, that's true. They'll be able to match it. They'll be able to get you the exact color. There's a couple of colors, like Benjamin Moore has a line that's specifically for Aura, that's a higher solid paint. Other companies are gonna have a hard time matching that because their paint's not a higher solid. So it's not going to take that colorant like the Aura does. But when you're talking about stuff like fine paints of Europe and Faro and Ball, there's no way to match it in any other paint. Because of the way the paint's formulated, because of the colorants they use, it just simply cannot be done. I've seen people try to do it and it just doesn't come out right. So If you're going from Sherwin-Williams to Benjamin Moore basic colors all day long, you can get those matched. But if you're doing something really custom, be aware of that. You're not going to be able to match that Faro and ball color and get that look you want in Sherwin-Williams Super Paint. It's just not going to happen. Next is coverage. So this is a big one in paint. I hear this quite a bit, right? Well, hey, Chad, we're supposed to do 2 coats on the exterior of the house. They only went over it once. Well, guys, when we talk about coverage, especially on an exterior of a home, when we're spraying, we're not necessarily talking about the amount of passes that we go over a piece. It is how thick is that coating. So every paint on their data sheet has a recommended wet and dry millage thickness. And what that means is there's a little tool, kind of looks like a little credit card, that when you spray, as soon as you get done spraying, you put that gauge on there. It'll tell you how many mils of coverage that you're getting. So every single one of them has a recommended coverage for exterior, and as long as you're getting that recommended coverage, you're getting full coverage. You're getting that 2-coat coverage, which is talking about mils, not the number of passes you go over it. Now let's talk about interior. Interior, when you're rolling and brushing, yeah, you're going to be going over it twice to make sure you get full coverage. Sometimes more than that, depending if you're using a red, really dark greens, dark colors in general, or if you're doing something really light over something really dark. There are cases where you're going to do more coats than 2 on the interior. But guys, when we talk about coverage on the exterior, it's a very common myth that you have to go over it twice, especially with a spray machine. They have settings on them to get to the correct millage on that first pass. Guys, last myth I want to cover with you guys is, hey, this is just paint. I can get anyone to do that. And guys, that's simply not true. If you've watched our videos, you understand the depth of knowledge that it takes to get a paint job done right. Sure, anyone can go buy a paintbrush and a gallon of paint and get to painting. And I like to describe it like this. If you've been eating steaks from Walmart your entire life, and then you go to, let's say it's Fleming's or Capital Grill or somewhere really fancy and get a steak, you just taste and see this incredible difference that you didn't even know existed because you only knew the Walmart steaks. Well, guys, when you're talking about painters, yeah, if you've only used, Chuck in a truck or a friend down the street or whatever for years, and then you switch to using a professional paint company that knows what they're talking about, it's a huge difference. And it's not something you might necessarily notice until you have a professional come in and paint your house. But guys, it's all in the details. It's in the prep work, it's in the knowledge about materials, and it's in technique, guys. And you have to have those 3 things to make sure, guys, paint can change the exterior and the interior of a room dramatically in either direction, right? It can make that space look 1,000,000 times better or make you never want to walk in that room again. So when you're picking a contractor, guys, when you're thinking about doing these painting projects, really consider, what's the purpose of this project, Ask that contractor questions, make sure they understand what they're using, the techniques that are involved, and what's going to be best for your house. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. Guys, if you have any questions, if you have any myths, if you have any problems that you're having in your home right now with paint, guys, put a comment down below. We'll respond to those comments. We'll make a video on it. Whatever it needs to be to help you guys out, just put it down in the comments below. And as always, guys, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you later.